Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Living in Denver. Got a really fun one today, something I haven't done before, about the cost of living in Denver, Colorado here in 2023. You're not going to want to miss this one. Going to be sharing a lot of really interesting and different types of things to think about if you are considering moving here to Denver, Colorado. Stay tuned. All right, so today's video, all about the cost of living in Denver, Colorado here in 2023. Some really fun things to share with you today. I do also want to mention though, I am a licensed real estate agent here in Denver, Colorado. My phone number, my email, all my info's down below. Reach out. I would love to connect with you guys. We could set up a quick Zoom call if that works for you. Really, I just want to learn a little bit more about, why it is you're considering moving to Colorado, and hopefully find out a few different ways that I can provide some value to you and help out with your move. So reach out anytime. I'd love to connect. And make sure you guys hit that like and that subscribe button down below. Every week I'm releasing new videos just like this one. You're not going to want to miss some of the great content I have coming out this spring and this summer, all about living in Denver, Colorado. But for now, let's go ahead and get started. Let's talk all about today, the cost of living in 2023 here in Denver, Colorado. All right, so Denver, Colorado, great place to live, obviously. We all know that. But with that does come a higher cost of living for most people moving to Colorado. So, it's no surprise why that is. Obviously, we have, an incredible state, and Denver is becoming one of the best cities in the nation as well. So, I think in my opinion, there's three things that really make Denver so special, and that's the beautiful weather, all 4 seasons. Every time of year, there's always something new and exciting, whether it be spring, summer, winter, or fall. We also have some really amazing backyard activities just with the Rocky Mountains right out our back door. And just the third one is just the culture. Because so many people are moving here, what that's doing is it's making Denver a lot better place to live when it comes to culture. We've got great events, great sports teams, restaurants, bars, you name it. We have such a great culture that continues to get better every single year. So in my opinion, Denver's the best place in the nation, one of the best cities you could pick. So really excited to share a little bit more about it with you throughout all of my videos that I post. But on this one especially, we're going to talk a little bit more about just the cost of living and talk a little bit about some of the things that, if you're considering moving to Colorado, some of the things you might not think about. So we're going to dig into some of those and just talk through, maybe some more obscure or just things that you might not have been thinking about before. So first and foremost, we're just going to talk about just the population growth. So before we talk about some of these costs, we're just going to talk for a second about the population. So between 2010 and 2020, Colorado's population, so not Denver, but Colorado, it grew almost 15%. So obviously there's no wonder why, with that large increase, why housing costs are really the biggest factor right now with making life more expensive here. If you think about it, the start of this year, 2023, the median home price for Colorado was about $590,000. So it has dipped a little bit in a few different parts of the state, but regardless, year over year, that's still almost a 2% increase. So if you think about that, and you think about the interest rates rising, inflation, just the cost of housing in general going up, obviously Colorado is getting a bit pricier. But don't worry, there are different places throughout the state, especially in Denver, where if you have a savvy person that knows the area, you can definitely still find places that are somewhat affordable and places that you can hopefully still meet your budget and get you in the door with moving to Denver. So we're going to talk about all of that here in a second. I will though first share just 3 areas in Colorado, kind of what I consider 3 of the most popular cities in the state, and that's going to be Denver, Boulder, and Colorado Springs. And just want to talk real quickly about some of the prices with those 3 areas. So first off, Denver. So for Denver, home prices here are basically going to require about 5 times the median household income, which is going to make it tougher to find an affordable place as time continues to go on. So if you look at it this way, the average cost of a home in Denver is just under $560,000 here in 2023, about $556,000. And the good news is that with these, higher interest rates, obviously that doesn't sound like good news, but the one caveat to that is there's fewer buyers. So 2 years ago and even 1 year ago, there was an incredible amount of competition when it came to being a buyer and trying to get into a place. There still is some competitiveness when it comes to buying homes in Denver. However, it's nothing like it was a couple years ago. And that might change. So if you are considering, now is a great time. The spring and the summer, there's a lot of new inventory coming on the market right now. And again, with fewer people able to buy a home, mainly just because they haven't really worked the numbers with their lender or with whoever they're working with their financial advising, figuring out a way that they can still get into the market right now. A lot of people are sitting on the sidelines and not even considering it, when in reality, there definitely still are some great options to buy a home, even with the higher interest rates. And I would love to talk about that more with you guys. Again, my phone number, my email, reach out, let's chat. So in addition to Denver, another city is Colorado Springs. So Colorado Springs is actually one of the fastest growing cities in the state. And it's actually one of the, in a lot of polls recently, one of the best cities in the nation to move to. So if you haven't really looked too much into Colorado Springs, definitely check it out. It's close enough to Denver. It's within about an hour to an hour and a half drive. And with the way that the world is nowadays, with so many people working remotely, so many people not needing to commute to an actual office on a daily basis, Colorado Springs gives you a lot of really good options because you are in a beautiful part of the state. You got the mountains right behind you. There's still some really good activities and just resources and amenities in Colorado Springs. You've got the Air Force Academy. You've got some bigger companies moving their headquarters down there because the cost of living isn't quite as high as Denver and Boulder, some of the other areas in Colorado. The average home price in Colorado Springs was actually under $500,000. So if that puts things into perspective, when I talk about the next city, Boulder, I think Colorado Springs is a great option. So leading into that, Boulder, the third city I want to chat real briefly about. In my opinion, it's one of the prettiest cities in the state. I'm a former CU Buffalo alumni, so I spent some time in Boulder and really love the city of Boulder. It has changed, in my opinion, more than probably any of the other big cities or big areas, big neighborhoods in Colorado over the last 20 years. Boulder is incredibly popular and it just continues to just really get expensive. So cost of living and just the cost of a home, when you're talking about Boulder, it is way, way, way higher than both Colorado Springs and Denver. You're going above $900,000 with a lot of the median home prices. So very expensive compared to other parts of the state. But it's a great place. There's so much to offer there. There's obviously a lot of activities right out the back door there. I mean, you've got the Flatirons within a 5-minute drive for most of the areas in Boulder where you might be living. And there's a lot of, really high-end restaurants. And Boulder has a lot going for it when it comes to the food and dining and nightlife scenes. Some of the best restaurants in the state, lots of very highly acclaimed, highly awarded restaurants. So Boulder has some very special restaurants and different things going for it. And maybe that's one of the reasons why, again, it's such an expensive place to live. Very popular. So talked about a few of these different parts of the state: Colorado Springs, Boulder, and of course Denver. Now though, the main point of this video, we're just going to talk about expenses and just the cost of living. So I'm going to talk about some just different things that you might not have thought about. Some I'm sure you have, some maybe are a little bit more, maybe not as high up on your radar. So we'll just talk through these real quickly. So first one, utilities. Everybody obviously is going to experience having to pay for utilities in Colorado and in Denver. In Colorado, the average monthly bill was about $240 last year, and that was about $70 higher than the national average. But I will say, Colorado is a state that produces a lot of natural gas. So depending on what kind of a home you have and what utilities you're paying for, you can get a pretty good deal on certain utilities because of the state that we live in. Another one that I think is unique, as far as you might not have thought about this, it's car insurance. So Colorado premiums are actually some of the highest in the entire nation. They were around $1,300 per year, or about $113 per month average for 2022, and that's about 1% higher than the national average. And a big part of that is mountain driving. If you're driving up I-70 going up to the mountains, you're going to deal with, definitely some potentially rocks falling from the mountains around you. Maybe dinging your car, just big semi trucks in front of you might be kicking rocks at you, stuff like that. And then the other really big one is actually hail. So we have significant amount of hail damage in Colorado. We had a really big storm. I can't remember what year it was. It's probably, 7 or 8 or 9 years ago at this point, but it did some major damage. One of our malls here in Denver, the Colorado Mills Mall, it actually had to be shut down for over a year because of the amount of hail damage. There's also a lot of car dealerships all around the Colorado Mills Mall. They installed like crazy expensive sunshades, permanent structures to cover all of the areas where all of their cars are displayed and parked around their dealerships. I think one of the dealerships, it was almost $1 million expense that they put in to just have this going forward so it doesn't happen again. But hail damage is definitely something to be mindful of, and that's one of the reasons why car insurance is some of the highest in the nation. Also, just transportation expenses are pretty high in Colorado. One of the reasons for that is because we do live in a state where we all want to go up to the mountains and experience what makes Colorado so special. So if you are, a weekend warrior, or you're just somebody that makes frequent trips to the mountains, you are going to be spending a bit more than probably other states and other cities, because you are going to want to travel a bit and drive for that hour or two outside of Denver to access all of the great activities and resources we have right outside of Denver in the Rocky Mountains. We also want to talk about state taxes and just taxes in general. So Colorado, we have a flat, about 4.4% income tax rate. That was for 2022. However, sales tax is variable, and it really just depends on what city and county you're in. For example, I used to live up in Aspen, Colorado. It was the highest in the entire state. It was over 10%. There's other parts, though, of the state that are a lot lower than that. So keep that in mind, depending on what part of the state or what part of the city you're going to be living in. But there is also a bright side to this. Colorado actually has in the entire nation, one of the lowest property tax rates. And that's with an average effective rate of only about 0.49% for 2022. So if you guys are buying a home, good news for you on the property taxes. All right, so in addition to taxes, we also just want to talk about, I know this seems like a simple thing, but just food prices. So it's a very popular topic nowadays with, cartons of eggs and the cost of milk and stuff like that. But, I just wanted to mention that the average cost of groceries in Colorado is slightly above the national average. We have a very healthy and just mindful population in Colorado. So we have a lot of really good high-end grocery stores, Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, all of that kind of stuff. So that's also obviously in addition to just regular grocery stores, but depending on your lifestyle and your home and what kind of food you guys choose to eat, there might be a little bit higher food price and just cost of food compared to where you currently live, depending on, again, what kind of places you shop at. So keep that in mind. But I'd say more importantly than that one is a bigger one that I want to talk about is healthcare. So healthcare costs in Colorado are kind of a mixed bag. So this goes for any state, but they're usually generally lower than the national average when you talk about where in the state you live. So if you're in a place that's more rural, for instance, you're probably going to have fewer healthcare options and a little bit higher costs compared to more urban areas like Denver. So just kind of keep that in mind. Again, depending on what part of the state you're living in, healthcare costs could be a bit higher, but overall for the state, they're a little bit lower than the national average. And again, that might partly have something to do with just the healthy population that we have, since we all love to get out and enjoy the outdoors and the fresh air and are active with the different activities we do here in Colorado. So not sure what kind of a family you might have, but if you do have younger kiddos at home, definitely also take into consideration the cost of education. We have a pretty well-regarded public education system here in Colorado, a lot of top-rated schools. However, it is also important to just think about, if you are considering private schools, the cost of tuition is a big one that you really do need to think about and definitely budget for if you are considering that. So, private schools here in Colorado, they can range anywhere between $5,000 to $25,000 per year. Again, just depending on that institution that you're going to. And if you have kiddos that are maybe a little bit younger, definitely also need to factor in childcare costs. So, childcare costs in Colorado, they're about the average annually across the nation. Again, there's a huge variety of range here depending on what kind of childcare places you're going to be going to, but on average, they can range anywhere between about $9,000 to $14,000 per year per child. So if you have a big family or even just a couple kiddos, that really adds up quick. So definitely when you're looking at your budget and just considering moving here to Colorado, definitely keep in mind just the cost of childcare. So it can add up pretty quick. So another one I want to talk about that's a little bit maybe less thought about is just the cost of recreation and entertainment and just activities hopefully you're going to be doing if you choose to live here in Colorado. So, unlike a lot of other states where there's not nearly as many fun outdoor or just activities to choose from, in Colorado, you got an endless number of things you can choose to do. So whether it be biking, skiing, playing golf, getting into mountain biking, all these activities are amazing, but they all come with a cost. So, just speaking from personal experience, I'm a huge skier. I love skiing. Back when I was a kid, ski passes, a season pass for the entire year, unlimited skiing at some of the resorts. It was as low as, $200, maybe $300 for an entire year. Nowadays, season passes can go anywhere between about $700 all the way up to over $2,000, depending on, again, what ski areas you're choosing to go to. So you got a family of 3 or 4 people in the house that all want to, buy a season pass. That could be, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000. So definitely enough of a cost associated with that you need to be budgeting for that and just considering that when it comes to cost of living here in Colorado. Another big one is golf. We have some incredible golf courses here, and golf is becoming, more expensive than skiing in some senses. So, round of golf could be at minimum of $100, $150, or maybe even $200 per person per round if you're going to some of these mountain courses. So just kind of keep, again, just mountain biking, skiing, golf, any other activities that you might be interested in. Just kind of keep that in mind when you're putting together your budget and your game plan for moving and living out here in Colorado. And then I will also just, finally just mention that it really is essential just to really, understand that the cost of living differences just between different types of areas in Colorado. So, kind of like what I was talking about with healthcare, the smaller towns and more rural areas, they're going to usually have a lower cost of living than the larger cities like Denver or Boulder. So if you are maybe on a little bit of a budget, it might just mean that you have to be looking a little bit further out from, the more popular, more expensive parts of the city. So I'll use one example. If you want to be in the city, maybe you can't afford to live really close to downtown and maybe the more expensive Highlands, Sloan's Lake, some of those areas, might mean you just have to choose an area, maybe, 10 to 15 minute drive further north, like Northglen, Westminster, Thornton. So there's definitely some options out there for really people for not everybody, but a lot of different budgets. We can make it work here in Denver. It just might mean that we have to get creative and maybe just recommend some areas in Denver that are a little bit further out where it might require a little bit longer of a commute to downtown Denver. So no biggie at all on that one though. And again, I've been here for 40 years. My phone number, my email, all my info is down below. Reach out. I'd love to share more specifics on this with you and really share some insider tips on some great options if you are on a budget. So kind of wrapping this up, guys, all in all, Colorado does come with a higher than average cost of living, but it does also offer just an incredible quality of life, great beauty. You look out west, no matter where you are pretty much in Denver, and you got an incredible backdrop to where you're living. Got a lot of great recreational activities, opportunities to learn new things as well, and just this culture that continues to get better year after year because of all the great people that are choosing to move to our city and state of Colorado. So definitely just kind of keep that in mind just as far as some of these different things that I brought up today, and just make sure you're always careful about considering any other expenses that might be something that's unique to your family and your situation that maybe I didn't talk about today. So all in all, I just really hope that you guys enjoyed watching this video and learning a little bit more about some of the expenses for 2023. And as always, my phone number, my email, all my info is below. Reach out. Let's connect and let's talk through this in a little bit more depth. Talk to you guys next time. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you then.